When I realized that what we call background does not always remain there, another understanding quietly followed. I began to notice how easily we reduce living things to the function they serve. I began to notice how easily we do the same thing to one another. We say cleaner, driver, cashier, vendor, security guard. In a single word, an entire human being disappears behind a role. A role that becomes the person. Not because the person is invisible, but because we have learned to see function before we see presence. And once we see function, we tend not to look any further. A cleaner becomes cleaning. A driver becomes driving. A vendor becomes the place where we purchase what we need. The transaction ends and the person disappears back into the background. But every one of those people is the center of a life. Each one carries a history, a way of thinking, a way of understanding the world. Each one carries knowledge that does not always come from books. And here is something else I have begun to notice. When we simplify people, we often assume that wisdom belongs to those who speak the right language, who use the right vocabulary, who move comfortably inside the structures we have learned to respect. But wisdom does not always arrive in the language of institutions. Sometimes it arrives in the voice of someone who has spent a lifetime observing. Someone who reads people instead of textbooks. Someone who has learned the patterns of life through participation rather than instruction. And yet, because their words are not polished in the way society expects, they are dismissed. They are mocked, reduced, as though the ability to speak in perfect sentences were the measure of human understanding. There's another quiet irony in this. Those who are dismissed often see more than those who are celebrated. When people assume you are unimportant, they stop performing for you. They speak freely. They reveal their assumptions. They reveal their fears. They reveal the structures they believe will never be questioned. And the person standing quietly in the room hears everything. There is a strange advantage in being underestimated. When people believe you do not see, they stop hiding. And when you are not busy proving yourself, you have time to watch, to listen, to learn. Humility has merit. Not the humility forced by humiliation, but the humility that keeps the eyes open. The humility that allows a person to observe the world carefully, while others are busy performing within it. What we call background is often a failure of perception. We reduce people to roles because it allows the world to move faster. But when we slow down enough to encounter rather than pass by, something remarkable happens. The cleaner becomes a person. The driver becomes a person. The vendor becomes a person. The room fills again with human presence. And we begin to realize something else. The wisdom we thought was rare has been standing quietly beside us all along. The wisdom of watching people carefully. The wisdom of making a little go a long way. The wisdom of reading character long before words reveal it. Wisdom shaped not in classrooms, but in participation with life. We are only beginning to learn how to recognize it. The next step is integration.